world that nature has to offer in one lifetime. What a dream! To travel freely into the home of the wild ones, to live with them, to become so accepted by them that they hardly notice that you're there. That is not only my dream, that's my goal. I'm wildlife photographer Bill Porter, and I'll take you there.
I walked on the mountain down by the sea. There I saw the man who shared his world with me. We shared the world with wild ones, that's the way it's meant to be. We're also meant to save them, that's the power in you and me. I wandered down the valley, crossed to the other shore. There's wildlife all around us, birds and bees and so much more. We're always going to take some, that's the way it's meant to be. We're also meant to save them, that's the power in you and me. Well, I woke up to the sunrise, stood there at sunset too. Still I saw the wild ones, wish you had been there too. For with one touch of nature, the whole world had become kin. This message all around us, that's the way it's always been.
Wildlife Unlimited Foundation, thanking you for doing your part to keep our wildlife unlimited. I'm wildlife photographer Bill Porter, and I'll take you there. Sometimes they're cute. Sometimes they're beautiful. Other times they're simply amazing. But it's always exciting in the wonderful world of the wild ones.
Have you ever seen a cougar stalking? Well, I have. Have you ever heard a cougar calling? Well, I have. Have you ever thought of mountain crags, mountain lions and mountain caves, clear blue air and clear blue skies, looking danger in the eye? Have you seen a cougar's tail swaying? Well, I have. Have you ever seen a cougar playing? Well, I have. Yes, I have.
That was a cute little ball of fur.
Not so very far away, in a place we would all love to live in, lives a man in tune with nature. A man who is tolerated by the wild ones. He lives in the big woods with them. He makes no pets, just observes and enjoys. He's come to be known as the old man of the woods. Every time I'd see him, he'd tell me another story about one of the animals he had seen. This time was no exception. The old man had seen a mountain lion that had strolled away from its den while its mother was away hunting for food. She looked to be only about 12 days old or so. Mountain lions usually have up to 4 cubs in a litter, but the old man had never seen any of the others from this litter.
That was a little bundle of trouble.
Mountain lion cubs don't usually stray out of the den until they can see clearly, but it was obvious by her big blue eyes that this one could not see much other than movement. He knew better. He knew he shouldn't play with her, but he couldn't resist. He moved some leaves with his walking stick, not to play with her, but just to observe what she would do, you understand. She could see the movement, but not the stick clearly. Her hearing was good though, and she would try to get the leaves and grass as it rustled. Now, with the memory firmly in his mind, he told me the story of Coka the Cougar. The cougar he had watched grow up right before his eyes. It takes a cougar 2 years to fully mature, and he had observed it all. Coka never could stay put. Every time her mother was off hunting, Coka would wander off to find something new to see, someplace new to explore. Everything was fascinating to her. Each weed something to bite and fight with. Her den must have been close to the old trout stream, because that was where the old man had seen her for the first time. Now she was about 4 weeks old, and her eyes were becoming darker, starting to change to brown. And with that change also came the change in her sight. Now she could see some fuzzy images. Still, it was the weeds and plants that seemed to keep her interest. Just between me and you, I think she did a good job of keeping that old man's interest too. He never had seen any of the other cubs. Maybe she didn't have any brothers and sisters. All youngsters need to play, and maybe that's why Coka took up with the fox. The old man hadn't seen the fox before, but there he was, as lively and full of mischief as Coka, and maybe that's why they hit it off. He really didn't know. The first time he saw them together, they just moved more or less past each other, and the old man hadn't thought much of it. He had also seen her trying to climb trees and old stumps up on the ridge. Even passed by or under other animals on her way. He laughed and told me about the young fawn that had smelled her head. Coka had hit her in the nose with that long tail, as she was off to see more of what life had to offer. When Coka was about 3 months old, she took up playing with the fox almost full time. It seemed every time he seen one, he'd see the other. Young animals learn a lot about playing, and Coka was to learn a lot about hunting and catching her prey from playing with that fox. From the beginning of their relationship, the fox was faster, more agile, longer-winded. Coka, on the other hand, was still clumsy, but very determined. Her eyes were now completely brown, and she could see very, very well. And as with all animals, she could pick out movements very quickly. The fox loved to run off and hide. This left Coka far back because she was slower. Coka would have to find him by smelling his tracks, a lesson she needed to learn if she was to make it in life. Coka was good at it, and always found the fox. The fox had such a bushy tail, just the kind of thing that a young cougar loved to play with. The old man told me he thought the fox liked to tease her with his tail, but that fox was always hunting. He looked and smelled under everything, but not Coka. She just wanted to pounce on him. One day, a coon tried to join in the commotion, but Coka didn't want him there and let him know in no uncertain terms. The fox didn't want anything to do with this argument. He just watched as Coka defended their turf. Even at this young age, Coka could not be pushed. After the hassle, it was back to playing as usual. Coka did not like the fox to get her down, and she let him know. But when she had the upper hand, it was a different story. She was getting stronger. She could almost hold him down. The trick was to get a hold of him. He moved around too fast, but it was all in fun. They were really just playing. They were just buddies. Buddies till the end. And they traveled down life's pathway that way. By the time winter had set in and the waterfalls had frozen in place, Coka was spending a lot more of her time alone. Cougars are solitary animals. They live and travel alone. She now spent a lot of her time up on the cliff. Mountain lions like high places, high perches to watch from. And it was there that the old man first realized how much the sun reflecting the colors from her surroundings onto her coat made her very hard to see. She simply blended right in. She had found a cave up on the cliffs and spent a lot of time up there out of the wind. Early mornings and late evenings, she would come out to hunt. She'd smell the tracks to see how old they were, and if they were too old, just carry on. Because Coka was now growing very rapidly, she needed more and more food. She was starting to cover a much larger area with her hunting trips. She also needed more time away from that fox. His hunting habits got in her way. By spring, the fox was getting even faster. He'd run all the time, seemingly with no effort at all. He just kind of bounced along. Coka could just watch him. Then she tried stalking him. If he came close, the chase was on. If she caught him, she'd hold him down for a while. The fox was faster, but Coka was much stronger. When the grass was up and the leaves fat and tender, Coka would lay and eat grass. No one really knows why. For as with dogs who eat grass, they just regurgitate it anyway. She spent more time hunting now. Her need for food foremost on her mind. One day, he heard her thrashing around in the leaves. He hadn't been watching her long when her instincts told her something was watching. She came closer to see what it was. But when the old man sat down, she recognized him and went back to her snake. One time while he was watching, she had caught a rabbit in a hollow log, but she wasn't hungry right then. So she laid it down and ran off to play for a while. She hardly noticed the call of a crow at first. She was busy playing. But there it was again. Now she was curious. Just where was that crow? Oh, up in that tall tree. Satisfied, she went back to playing. Something caught her eye. Movement. Something was by her rabbit. Another crow. This turn of events was just great. Mountain lions love to eat birds when they're lucky enough to catch them. Not very big, but with the rabbit, it would make a tasty meal. This time she made sure there was nothing else around to steal her meal. Coka would still chase the fox, but the plain was getting rougher, and the fox was making sure it was harder to catch. So Coka started using her stalking skills. She would let him come to her. The fox would still run off and leave her. He would run all the time. He never seemed to get tired, but Coka could only run for a short distance. Then she had to rest. This time, when she laid down, she lost sight of him. Now where did he go? She acted like she was playing. He always came back to join in. Not this time, so she tried again. This time it worked, but Coka was rough, and the fox didn't want her to catch him. So back to a hole in the snow and ice. So that's where he had been, right here under her nose. Just how sneaky can a fox get? But their hunting skills were too different, and Coka knew that things would have to change. She had a new perch on an old dead, half-fallen down aspen tree, and from this vantage point, she'd watch all around. Mostly all she could see was that fox out hunting, running around at that trot of his, smelling here and there, but also chasing away any would-be prey from Coka's perch. This was going to have to change. Coka didn't really know what to do, so she took out her frustrations on the tree. Her instincts told her to mark her perch by scraping the tree, leaving her scent on it. Again, the old man observed how the sun reflected colors off the pines in her surroundings to change her color so she would blend in better. That fox was always here and there, and nothing would come close to the perch with that fox running. Coka knew the fox would have to go. If there was only another way. Buddies until the end, but this would have to be the end. But the fox was still having fun. He knew nothing of Coka's dilemma. He'd run way out and around, then come back, and all Coka could do was watch. Sometimes he'd even try to run up her tree, but Coka would swat at him and keep him off her perch. Not bad enough, now Coka was getting hungry. There was no choice. The next time that fox came around, Coka would have to send him away. Away for good. As with all bad things that come our way, they seem to only be making way for the good. That very evening, a young buck that had shed one of its antlers in the winter snow came right under her perch. Too excited, she jumped too soon. She was too young, and even a full-grown mountain lion can't catch a healthy adult deer. So she tried out her stalking skills. Even tried to cut across as he circled. This was the beginning of a new chapter of life for her. She would not go hungry again. With the coming of spring, while the winds were still cold and the snow flurries still drifted to the ground, when the first light of morning had just peeked over the horizon, the old man heard her call for the first time. Coka was coming of age, for at 2 years old, mountain lions are mature, and Coka was now almost 2. She was calling out that she was ready to have a family of her own. Yes, that haunting sound that stands the hair up on the back of your neck is her mating call. Her call to life's renewal.
On land and underwater, sportsman and photographer Bill Porter with son John and family invite you all to join them at a spot in the country where we hope to see some wildlife still run free. We'll go hunting, climbing, fishing, diving, see things that help to set the spirit free. We might take some of the surplus that the good Lord has provided, always mindful of the sportsman's creed. So the wildlife we all love remains unlimited. Oh, Bill and Rose and little John, who's grown to be a man, will show you through a camera's eye wonders of the land. You might camp with them by mountain streams or run barefoot in the sand. But wherever you go, recall the creed, keep the wildlife unlimited. For a sportsman's more than just a hunter or a fisherman. There's things to see to all the mind of many a mortal man. From the way the wild protect their young to canyons carved in sand. Oh, don't take them all as you recall. We're for Wildlife Unlimited. Yes, Bill and Rose and little John, who's grown to be a man, will show you through a camera's eye wonders of the land. You might camp with them by mountain streams or run barefoot in the sand. But wherever you go, recall the creed, keep the wildlife unlimited. Wherever you go, recall that creed, keep the wildlife unlimited.